Hey everyone, this is Narcissist. I'm asking for a friend podcast, and my name is Tyler King. This is my co-host Karen Maldonado, and we have a treat for you today. Have you ever been with a person that has been a narcissist, specifically, and they have just done some things that you're like, I'm not sure about that? We have the solution. We have some answers for you. We don't come at it from a bashing or any type. We come at it from a Christian perspective. So we are always trying to encourage and help you in any way that we can. But we want to make sure that we're doing it from a place where you can get your emotional healing, be emotionally well. If you decide to stay in those relationships, and maybe they're relationships that, for whatever reason that you want to stay in. So we want to support you. We want to be that listening ear and also be able to educate you. So Karen, we have so much to dive in today.
Yes, we did.
Yes. So we touched on in a previous episode about narcissists and addiction. So we kind of hit it from there. But I wanted us to go a little bit deeper because I feel like that's a topic that is not really, you don't really see a lot of attention being paid to that specific dynamic. So, Karen, kind of enlighten us a little bit more as we dive deeper into what does that look like in a relationship when you have a narcissist that has an addiction and you are in the middle of it, or maybe you're not even sure what the situation is. You just know something's seriously wrong.
Right, right. That's a good question. So in the situation with addiction, a person may have narcissistic tendencies, but
Mhm.
not be a full-fledged narcissist when they're sober. So,
Mm.
they may still meet some of the criteria or maybe a majority of the criteria, but they may not be like over the top with all of the different criteria that they have to meet for diagnosis.
Right.
So what I'm saying here is the saying goes this way with addiction. Addiction trumps love.
Right.
So if a person has an addiction, that addiction becomes their lover.
Almost like they're like a partner they're cheating with, kind of in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
Sounds
like
like.
yep, like a mistress, right? Or
Mm.
for a woman, a lover. And so the situation though is, well, as Christians, we call that idolatry, right? When you have anything that you go to for
Right.
comfort, when you
Yeah.
go to anything other than God for,
Yes.
and then also, there's other things. If the addiction is, pornography, let's say,
Hmm.
then that lover becomes the idol, that lover of the pictures or movies or whatever the person's delving in. But same thing for alcohol and drugs, and so gambling, that
Yes.
it's when is my next fix, right? So that
Mm.
addiction is they cannot wait for their next fix, and they're waiting for that moment where they can go in secret
Yes.
because at this point when it's a problem,
Hmm.
usually it's done in secret.
Mm.
Some cases there are addicts that don't go in secret. They're just defiant and they're going to keep doing whatever they want to do in front of whoever they want to do it. So, um,
Right.
there's plenty of alcoholics that will sit in a chair and watch TV at night and keep drinking, 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 and
Right.
spouse is unhappy about it, family is unhappy about it, but it continues. So, do they love their spouse? Do they love their family? Yes, most cases they do.
Okay.
The price that they need to pay in order to make their family member happy, they're not willing to do that. And that because that is to say goodbye to their lover, their idol, right?
Right.
So what they'll do is they'll do things to protect it now. So they'll become
Mm.
angry and manipulative with their family members that are trying to
Okay.
get them to stop. They'll make excuses and they'll lie. They'll do whatever it takes to get to that next fix. Um,
Mm.
it'll start off sometimes, with just simple arguments about, oh, you're not perfect either. You do this, you do that.
Yes, exactly.
So, but
Different.
but then, when they see that that person, is not letting down on how they feel about all of this, then they'll, become more and more defiant and push away from that person and just move
Mhm.
closer to the addiction. It's a cycle, and it's it brings families down. It brings
Wow.
relationship down, and it's sad.
And
but manipulation.
yeah, I can see that because when that person is so consumed in that addiction and they're doing everything to protect it, that could even mean maybe using money from household, like let's say money to pay bills, money to take care of the children,
Yes.
money just in general for the household expenses. They could use that and take that to, you know, get their fix of whatever it is that they're addicted to, and then lash out at you when you question why the bank account is looking the way it looks, right? So
Yeah,
that's something that you can see.
absolutely, absolutely. So there's something tangible that you can measure and say there's definitely something off over here. And another addiction is shopping. Some people do, and that's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
show up there. They might have the excuse, I'm buying stuff for the household, but that
Mhm.
also can become an addiction as well. So you know, I don't know of anybody, I've never had a client that had an addiction with shopping that created such a terrible situation, but we want to make sure that we put it out there that, people need to be aware of what their addictions might be.
Well, I can give you a perfect example. I was with someone that had that same addiction, the narcissism and then the addiction, and then what to the shopping, specifically like what you're mentioning.
Wow.
So
Okay.
what would happen is they would just go out and buy stuff, just buy, buy, buy. And then things are coming to the house. I remember it was like almost like I saw, and I almost hated Amazon for a period of my life because I kept seeing Amazon packages coming to the house. And I
Wow.
was like, what is this? Why do we have something else coming in? More stuff coming in. And it becomes overwhelming because it's like, it's this gadget, it's this thing. And it's just like, it was just so cumbersome. And it wasn't even anything that was needed.
Right.
It wasn't anything that really was really for us to use. It was more so for him and for his needs,
Right.
what he wanted. So it wasn't really anything benefiting. I would say the majority of the time it wasn't benefiting the total household. Um,
Right.
and then if I questioned about it, like, hey, why do we have another package? Or why, because then you're getting me involved in, hey, can you go to the door and look for the package? And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not getting it, you know what I mean, involved in this. Like, I'm not disrupting my life to like pick up packages like every single day.
Right.
And then the other part of it was just shopping, buying something. Oh, I'm going to take it back. It was this weird thing about I'm going to go to the store to buy something. You buy it, you have it, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to take it back. And this would be like sometimes it could be within a day or two, or even to a couple weeks later. And
Wow.
I'm like, well, what was the purpose of that? But then just continually, like it just never stopped.
Right.
And
And then it's
yeah,
causing arguments because you're not happy that the account's low. And
yes,
and then the protection over it. Well, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my mother. Those kind of
right.
attitudes that you'll get from a person that maybe only has tendencies, but now they're protecting their
They're
lover, right?
protecting it.
Shopping.
Yes.
So it's an entitlement mentality, which is what a narcissist has. So
Mm.
they're entitled to have these things and they'll
Yeah.
make excuses for it and they'll argue for it. They'll do the same thing that any addict will do to protect
Yeah.
what it is that they want to do. I find more people that are, alcoholics, drug addicts, I find them to be more combative with their
Mm.
protection than
Yeah.
do for people that are addicted to pornography or
Mm.
gambling.
Yeah.
Usually people that gamble so much that they gamble their house away, they know they blew it,
Right.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
And a person that gets caught with pornography, usually by a spouse or whatever, there's usually regret. I don't want to say repentance because that's not always the case. They
Right.
wait for the next opportunity to go back to that lover, that mistress, that idol. And
Right.
so, but there's usually a little bit more remorse because it's pretty plain that it's not what the couple should be doing as Christians, I'm talking about.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because with the alcohol and drug addiction, there is like the more violent tendencies there, and it's because they're not in their right state of mind.
Exactly.
It just reminds me once again, same individual, same thing. Yeah, I see the difference now with what you're saying as we're talking it through, because when it came to the drug piece of it, there was like that anger, that rage. There was a lot of that, even denial, even to the point of denial. I'm not a drug addict, or I'm not, where I don't consider that. And I'm like, we don't get to pick and choose which drugs and you're addicted to say that's not a drug addict and that's not. If it's a drug, you're addicted to it, you're overindulging in it, it's causing to disrupt your life, it's not needed. There's one thing, you have medication that you need to take for your health to keep you living and having a good, healthy quality of life. And there's other things when you're abusing it and there's no real health benefit to it.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And one of the criteria that you have to meet to have alcohol abuse or, drug abuse is that, is it causing a relationship issue for you?
Right.
So it is, is there somebody else looking in and saying, I don't want this?
Right.
Is it causing, a rift between the two of you? And so that's a part of it. So we don't live in, alone when we're in a family, and there's people that are going to be affected by our behavior. And so, everybody that is drinking, I'm not saying I don't drink, but I'm not saying that
Yeah.
people can't drink. But when people lose control over that choice,
Yes.
and start to ruin other people's lives, other people are sad about it, other people are scared about it, maybe,
Yeah.
that then it's a problem, it's a huge problem. And
It is. It's a huge issue because now you have other people that are tiptoeing. They're kind of walking on eggshells. They're trying not to be offensive, and it's almost like there's nothing you can say to not throw them off the edge. Because if you even mention anything that even touches that area, it's like a blow up. You know what I mean? It's this huge argument, confrontation, and from Karen, we've talked about it in the past. That's to kind of get you to bow down to it, right? So, like, you throw
yes,
such an outburst and get so enraged that it discourages you from even saying anything else about it, right?
it's a matter of control, right? They're controlling you with their anger. So yeah, narcissists are just by nature very controlling, and then addicts by nature are very controlling because they are trying to control
Yes.
the ability to have this, whatever it is. And so
Yeah.
they're control. And so if you tell them they can't, yet you're gonna get raged at, and then
Mm.
you're gonna, back down out of fear because now the person's, drinking, or now the person's doing drugs. And I don't know, people will do things when
Yeah.
they're on drugs and high on alcohol and drugs, whatever, that they would never do
Right.
if that wasn't the case. But
Yeah.
that's the thing, and that's what makes it even more scary. So being, with a narcissist can be scary, but now you're with a person that's addicted, that's showing narcissistic tendencies. Are they a full-fledged narcissist? Well, with the alcohol and the drugs, they are.
Yeah, yeah, because it was certain things that you would get into an argument. It's one thing to get into an argument with a narcissist, but then when you add the whatever it is the alcohol, drug
Oh,
addiction.
yeah.
In my case, it was a situation where something was said. Well, I will break your car or destroy your car or something. So it's like getting to a place where, would that person have said that if they weren't on the drugs? You know
Right.
what I mean? Would it have gone and escalated to that level?
Yeah.
I would say probably not. I think the drugs kind of amplified that part, or that part, and they're not thinking clearly. So whatever reasoning that you would have in a normal state of mind, now you're adding drugs to it. You're not even thinking clearly. So you're doing, saying things, and then is it true that maybe sometimes they can forget, or is it, do they pretend to forget that they did or said certain things? Because I got to the point where I had to start recording.
Oh, yeah. While they were drinking or drugging, yeah, people can actually forget, and they black out, and they don't have awareness. Then they do forget. Can it be an act? Oh, yeah, it could be that too. So
Yeah.
which one is it? You don't know. So each situation, each person is different, but you know, you just don't want to have to be in that situation where you're on the receiving end of their rage.
But this was the kind of crazy part about it was that when I remember I said I had to start recording at times. And I think one time I let it be known. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to start recording. You said you're going to break my car or bash my car in or something. And then it was funny because all of a sudden he knew how to kind of control the temper. So that's why I said it's like a weird dynamic going on because it's like, are you fully out of it? The drugs is amplifying it, but then you still have an awareness like, if I'm being recorded, I kind of need to calm down. So how do you explain that? Because that just takes it to a whole nother level for me. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if it's a narcissist raging
Mhm.
without the alcohol and they find out they're being recorded, oh yeah, they can dial it back and
Yeah.
act like this calm person.
Yeah.
But and then a person that's drinking, they may not have enough self-control to dial
Right.
it back.
Depending how much alcohol they've had. So it would just really depend on how intoxicated they are at that point, whether they have enough awareness to say, oh, wait a minute, if I'm being recorded, because they can go one of two ways. They can maybe dial it back or maybe even get even crazier, right?
Exactly.
So I guess that was a risk I took. I don't know. It could have went left it, really badly. But then this is the thing, is that a healthy, you're in a relationship with someone and you're you've done the counseling in the past for people, is that a healthy situation to stay in if this person is coming to you week after week and they're telling you about this person raging and they're throwing things and breaking things and they're yelling and they're going off and
Yeah, it's
you
abuse.
know yeah, it's abusive because now this is like not just the emotional, it's like turning into almost physical. It's like it's
Yeah.
getting escalating to that point. I mean,
Yeah.
so at what point does a person say I enough is enough, or something's got to change here, like, and how do they delicately even bring this up?
Well, they don't do it when the person's drinking for sure.
Right. And it's good that you say that. Sometimes you have to be very clear and say things like that because some people may just, I'm
Yeah,
gonna go and confront it, and then there's a way you're supposed to do it. So
right.
yeah,
You want
sure.
you want them in their right mind so that you can try
Yeah,
to reason with them. If they're drinking, you're not going to reason with them. So,
right.
and then you let them know that you're very unhappy and
Right.
what it is that you think needs to be done. And of course, everybody has their own, you know, decisions to make about this kind of thing. But
Yeah.
my suggestion, if I was in that situation, I would basically say, you tell that person that they need help and that you also need help on how to deal with their behavior. Their behavior last night or whatever it was very scary. And when you get like that, if you ever were even a child of any kind of abuse, then that even your own trauma from the
Yeah.
past now is
Sure.
so you need to be able to tell them, and whether you've had that in your history or not, it's important to figure out how the two of you are going to go forward with this. Now, if it's a person that's not really a narcissist, but the addiction has made them very narcissistic, then, having that conversation with them when I knew you, maybe when they first met or whatever, you were not like this and you were very lovable or you were very kind and you were all these things. I felt safe with you, but now I don't. And I
Right.
see things that you're going to do to ensure that I feel safe, because if you don't, then we're going to have to make some decisions about how we're going to move forward in this life. And
Yeah.
and I would say, of course, you get advisors before
Yes, of
you have
course.
a conversation. If the person doesn't feel like a safe person even when they're sober, then you might even want to have a mediator type person, your pastor, or somebody there that can, bring reason to the situation to help both. But keeping it under wraps and not telling anyone, that's what a narcissist wants. That's what an addict wants. Let's protect this thing. Don't let too
Yeah.
many people know. We got to keep this quiet. So, but you
So
expose it. And when you expose it, now it has to be dealt with.
yes, yes. So it's actually dangerous. If anyone's out there, remember, put it in the comments if you've dealt with this, if you know someone's dealing with this, share it, make sure you're telling people to watch this, because if they're dealing with this, they need to know that these addictions, they need to be exposed. Whatever it is, whether it's alcohol, drugs, pornography, gambling, whatever, shopping addiction, it needs to be exposed, because whatever is hidden, it's not going to go away. Just because you hide it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
And it's just going to grow and fester into something worse, and you're the one that's now suffering in silence. You're the one struggling, because that person, hey, they're getting their fix from their high and, ruining your life in the process. And then all you're getting is misery. So is that a good trade-off? And I wanted to kind of mention, what do you say to a person who's in a Christian marriage, or they thought they were, and now this person's trying to guilt trip them, right? Because they got into this relationship with this person and they weren't an alcoholic or a drug addict when they first met them. Because I believe that happens. Like, you get with the person, and then whatever situations happen in life, they turn to drugs or alcohol, which is kind of what happened in mine. Was like, all of a sudden I saw these tendencies and these addiction things were happening. And I'm like, wait a minute, this was not here before. Like, I clearly wasn't dealing with a drug addict before. So what do you say to a person like that? Because then they can try to say, well, we're in the marriages through what is it, through till death do us part, and they try to say in sickness and in health, but they're doing things like drugs that's deteriorating their health, and then expecting you to stand by their side.
They're quoting the scriptures that will benefit them,
right?
But they won't look at the scriptures that say don't get drunk on alcohol.
That's true,
right? So they're taking. So that's the thing you have to tell them. Don't pick and choose from the Bible what's going to work for you, because there's also scriptures that say that you should stop drinking. So I've given you time. I've given you a chance to stop. You haven't. And in some cases, and if you're not willing to go to counseling and get help for yourself, then we're not really having a marriage here. We're having a relationship that's very toxic, and I'm not willing to stay in that. So you're going to have to figure out how this is going to go away, and how you're going to get better, how you're going to get sober, and then we can continue working on our marriage. If it's a marriage, I mean, I don't know, we can think about a parent that's an alcoholic, so in different situations, boundaries need to be made. And so is it a boundary where you separate temporarily until the person gets help?
Right.
It's a boundary where, you have no contact because the person is not doing what they're saying they're going to do. Or it just is defiant, doesn't want to do whatever you're suggesting. So, you cannot work on a problem in a relationship if only you are the one that wants to work on it.
Absolutely. I agree. 100%.
Yeah, you can't want it more than that person that's addicted.
Yes. They have to want it. They have to do the work, and they have to see and have an awareness that there's an issue, right?
Yes.
And what do you say, Karen, for the people, and we can kind of wrap up with this, with the people who are in these relationships and they have children, and the children are witnessing this. What do you say to those people that are in marriages, or maybe they're connected to people, toxic, spouses, significant others, friendships, wherever, and the children are witnessing this, and this is something that we always want to be mindful of when children are involved? What do you say? How do you navigate those challenging situations to have that person build up the courage to do the right thing?
Well, I mean, each situation is going to be different. But I would say, especially if we're talking about two people that are married that profess to be Christians,
right?
Then you can use the situation as a teaching experience for your children. That, what, mommy has a problem with drinking, or daddy has a problem with drinking. I'm sure you've noticed that when he drinks or when she drinks, they change a little bit. They're not exactly, the loving person. They get mad all the time, and or maybe they're just really silly, depends on the happy drunk or the
angry one.
So, having a conversation with them, and they realize that they have a problem and they need help. So, we got to pray for them, But we also are going to temporarily need to, if it is, let's just say this is a hypothetical situation, we're going to need to separate as a
Yeah.
couple. And daddy's not gonna live in the house with me right now, or mommy's not gonna live in the house with us right now until she goes and gets the help she needs. And so here's the plan. She's gonna go to a 9-week program or whatever, if it's residential, if not, if it's mommy's gonna go to AA every
Yeah.
night, might not see her around for a while. So if that's, upsetting to you, you just gotta talk to me and let me know, and we'll work through this. But it is gonna be something that she's gonna need extra help with, because it's a hard thing to fight any kind of an addiction. It's a lesson for the kid to know, oh, I don't wanna go there. So in my
Right.
life, there was, an alcoholic in my family, and I made that choice. Last time I had a drink, I was 22, and I'm a lot older than that.
Yeah.
And, because I said, I don't want anything that's in my life that's ever gonna keep me under its control.
Right.
I
Right.
don't want an idol like that. I want my life to be happy. And so
That's
I saw the sadness that could be brought, in the chaos that could be brought into a family when alcohol or drugs is introduced. And so I just didn't want that in my life. And so I don't judge other people that enjoy a glass of wine. I'm not saying, anything
right.
like that. But what I am saying is, if it's a problem, then it is definitely something that that person needs to get out of their life, because they're going to lose everything if they don't.
Yeah. They will lose everything, and you're really not doing them any favors if you just stick around and do nothing or say nothing. You now have become an enabler, and we don't want to do that because that's actually hurting the person. If you really want to help someone, you don't allow them to dig a deeper and deeper hole that's going to destroy and ruin their life and may even lead to their life ending. Because if they consume so much alcohol that they end up in hospitalized and can pass away, or they do so much drugs they have an overdose.
Yes.
I mean, was that really loving them? Was that really showing love to them?
Right, there are a lot of families that have regrets, and it's a
Yeah,
sad thing, because then they live with guilt that doesn't really belong to them. They didn't
right.
cause the problem.
They didn't.
The alcoholic, the drug addict caused the problem, but they also, will blame themselves for not, getting more involved and trying to get them in rehab or do whatever. And, you can't go back in time.
No, you can't.
For choices that an individual made about their own life, but it is a sad situation when that happens, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the best thing we can do is making sure that we are making the right choices, confronting the situation in a way that is smart. Not doing it when they're at that high level of intoxication or whatever is going on when they're in their addiction. So I so appreciate it, and just remember, like I said, always share this. There are so many people out there that are hurting and struggling. Don't keep this to yourself. This is almost like ministry. This is like ministry work to us. We really want to help people. We want to make sure that they're emotionally well. They're dealing with these narcissistic relationships, and then when you add addiction to it, it just magnifies it to a whole nother level that sometimes you don't even know left from right when you're in the middle of it. So we really want to help those people. So share it with them, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and just put in your comments if there's something that you have a question about. We want to hear about it, and we want to answer your questions. And we would even love to have you on the show if you had dealt with something and you want to talk about it and get some help processing through it. We can do this and do a show and really help and touch some lives. So we really want you to be a part of that, and we extend that invitation. And as always, my name is Tyler King. This is Karen Maldonado, and we are Narcissists. I'm Asking for a Bread podcast, and we appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.